I don't know why I struggle with this every single week. Oh, okay. I'm live. Hello. Hello and welcome to the live stream. What is today? December, right? December 6th, 2017. My name is Dana Morningstar, and this is a live stream we do every week. So lots of people hopping on. Dora, Diana, Datsuk, Mel, Jennifer, Gamer, Christina, Jordan, Angelique. Okay, so before we get going on here, I need to do a shorter live stream tonight. This week has been incredibly weird for me, and in a lot of different ways. Weird and very like emotionally difficult. Lots of aha moments, I guess, have come out of it. And God, where to begin? I talked last live stream about kind of struggles, I don't know, like with inadequacy and weight and all of these things. And I've kind of since realized that I've been hiding. And maybe that's really obvious to you guys. I don't know, but it wasn't obvious to me until like a few days ago. And what kind of kicked it off was Richard Grannon had messaged me and was like, "Hey, do you want to come do this seminar thing in New York, like this week?" And that completely, it freaked me out. I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if I'm there yet. And so then that started it. And it was just kind of this progression of things like, I don't know, there was so much that happened. Anyways. Oh, and somebody left a comment last week saying, talking about kind of insecurities. And they're like, "Oh, I'm really surprised that you struggle with these kinds of things." And honestly, like, it's not even about like look like weight or whatever, like me trying to be pretty or even really caring about that, because that's not it. It's about me being okay in my body and me being just more okay with myself. And I realized, when I started these videos in my blog and everything, I didn't think that I hoped that the right people would find them. I just didn't realize like how many people there were out there that were watching them, and that really freaked me out. And so um I think I've just been trying to hide for like a long time, just insecurity, and I think in a weird way, like trying to keep myself safe, not from you guys, but this channel, this topic attracts a lot of predators. And I didn't realize how rattled I was because of that. And I've attracted a few like super scary people. I don't know. It's just been a lot. It's been a lot. And then I put my book out last week, and I need to just realize that when I put a book out, like it rocks my world for about a week. Like I have a hard time getting out of bed. Like it's just emotionally exhausting for me, and it's really, really difficult. Yeah, vegan yogi says, I hate that deer in headlights symptom of abuse that happens way too often. Yeah. And what's so interesting for me too is I guess I feel like I'm a pretty self-aware person, and I thought that I was pretty in tune with my feelings. And this is a very big revelation for me to fully realize how much I was hiding. I was wearing really drapey clothes. I was just wanting to disappear. And I went shopping with a friend the other day, and she was picking out, like a lot of like form-fitting clothes and um, very different things. And here I am, like gravitating towards like really, like just really drapey tops, really, not the same kind of stuff that I would have chosen before all of this happened. And so I guess if you're in the support group, you've probably realized like I haven't been there in what 4 or 5 days. And I told the admins there, I was like, I need to get straight with me because I'm really having a hard time right now. And um yeah. So and then last week too, I did some headshots for my book because I'd been putting off putting them in paperback. And part of the reason is I wanted to be able, people had asked me, like, are you going to do an about the author section on the back? And if so, are you going to put a picture of yourself on there? And seriously, like this was my thought process. So at first I was like, yeah, that's not, no, like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I thought, okay, I should, right? Like people see my face, I'm on YouTube, like I should really do that. And then I don't have any pictures of me, like any recent pictures of me. I just delete them. I really don't have that many. And if I have them, it's because friends have taken them. And so then I thought, okay, I can just do like a stick figure drawing of myself. Like that was seriously what I was going to do. I was going to do a stick figure drawing of myself and put that on a freaking book. Like that was my mentality. And that's ridiculous. So then like, okay, Dana, like you just need to go bench yourself. Like this, you can't be doing this. So then I didn't do that. So then I decided to get some professional headshots done. And she was fantastic. I was seriously such an emotional wreck when I went into her studio and was like this poor woman, right? So I'm like sitting here telling her, I'm like, and then like this stuff happened to me and I'm very different now and I've gained weight and I'm really insecure and I don't really want to be here, but I need to be here. And so just take some pictures and like, let's just get it over with. And then she was so awesome. We ended up talking for like hours and about, heavy stuff because I guess I'm incapable of talking about like surface level stuff. It's ridiculous. So, but anyways, I got the proofs back the other day. I posted one that doesn't have the watermark across it on my Instagram account because that's such a huge victory to me. And to just get that done. And God, just the mind, just the emotional stuff with it. So I posted that on my Instagram account if you've seen that. And I'll be posting the rest of them probably on my website here in like the next week. But I just, this past week's been incredibly emotional and I just wasn't expecting it. I wasn't prepared for it. And it's just really leveled me. So then, but wait, it gets better. So then I decide, I'm like, okay, Dana, this, things have got to change. Things have got to change. So I'm like, okay, I can't be sitting inside the house all the time, like so immersed in emotional abuse. And so I'm gonna need to start getting out and like getting exercise and going to yoga again and like doing these things that really nourish me. And so I started doing that. And so then I'm like, yeah, I am gonna go um, tan, not because I want to get tan, because I don't, but more for like, so it would stimulate some vitamin D. And I bought some vitamin D and I bought some vitamin B. And like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to deal with this like depression funk thing that I'm in head on. So then I go tanning and get burned. I am so freaking red. I don't know. Like it kind of hides it with my face with makeup on, but this camera does not even do it justice, but can you see like it hurts to wear clothes right now. Like, I am so burned. So anyways, so I'm in pain. And then I way overdid it at the gym. Freaking total self-care fail is what happened earlier this week. But I'm really gonna be making quite a bit of changes in everything that I'm doing. So that's that. Uh, Paula says, "Yeah, do something that makes you sweat aside from tanning, like boxing." Yeah, seriously, I'm never gonna go tanning again. I was doing it for the light, and I just burn. So they have like these UVA, UVB, like light therapy beds there that don't tan you. But I was just so like, gonna, just give it to me more. Like I head on, I'm gonna do this. And yeah, that was a terrible idea. Uh, don't be so immature says, I'm not sure author exposure is necessary. This is intellectual info. You are smart to want to be careful. Yeah, like I said, I've already had my fair share of like super scary people. Like not just trolls, not just kind of creeper people. I'm talking like legit, I had to call the police kind of people. So I thought I had dealt with that, and I've moved and I got a PO box and I've taken a lot of precautions. I am very aware of my surroundings everywhere I go. It's so weird. Like it's weird that you wouldn't think that a YouTuber, at least I didn't think this, a person would have to deal with this stuff until they were like a pretty super famous YouTuber. And even then, I guess I don't know why. Like I didn't anticipate it in this field. It's not, I don't know. It's just weird, weird. So, um, yeah, it is super scary. Little Miss is talking about getting tan. She says, yes, and tan lines are sexy. Yeah, I don't know about that. I've got some crazy tans going. I am sunburned in places I didn't even realize it was possible to get sunburned. It is, it's been me and ibuprofen and aloe vera for like the past 3 days. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, I guess it's just trying to find myself again in all of this, you know? It's it's weird, like, you think you've addressed stuff and then it surfaces again. But, like, seriously, like, everything else in my life, I'm gonna try to just squeeze out as much as I possibly can from it and use it for my highest and best good, and try to use it for you guys' highest and best good too. Because I think there's a lot of learning lessons in here. And, um, I will be sharing, like, once I kinda get, like, a little bit more emotionally stable, I'll be sharing my aha moments and kind of strategies to how I've dealt with this, and hopefully it will be resolved. But so one of the things I was talking about is I've really realized like how much I'd been hiding and hiding my body. And so yeah, kind of making, so if you notice, like tonight the camera is down lower so you can see more of me, and I'm wearing like more, you know like more form fitting, not even form fitting, right? Like a t-shirt. Like I'm wearing a t-shirt. So it's stupid, but it's a lot for me. And I just need to get out there because that's what I do want to do. Like I do want to be able to do seminars. I do want to be able to travel and to meet you guys and do all of these things and not be an emotional wreck afterwards. And yeah. So Little Miss says, it sounds like another great book can come out of all of this. Yeah. Yeah. I hope so. You know, um, I think this is probably a very universal struggle that a lot of people have after they go through something like this. And it trips me out that there's still so much, I guess that's always the case, but like there's still so much subconsciously going on with me that I was not aware of. And I don't know. Lots of journaling. I've been doing lots of journal. I always do lots of journaling, but I'm really doing lots of journaling. I think one of the big lessons learned is if I put out a book, I need to realize that that is emotionally a very intense time for me. And to probably not go in my writers group for that time. I feel I just need to kind of like retreat and withdraw and like triple up on my self-care during that time, because it's very difficult. You know, I have all these writer friends that put out, you know, like a book. A lot of them put out like a book every few months. And um they make it look so easy. They just do it with such style and grace. And I don't know. I've struggled with kind of feeling like a bad news bear in all of this. Like I don't belong here. Who am I to be doing any of this? Why does my voice matter? Why does my opinion count? And I just need to move past that. So, yeah, crazy. Yeah, music, fashion, and passion says I've definitely dealt with feeling uncomfortable in my body. Plus, my narc parents don't help. Yeah, it's just it's hard. It's hard getting comfortable in your own skin, you know? But like my weight, and someday I'll go see if I can dig up a bunch of old pictures of me like over time. My weight has like radically fluctuated over time. And there's really no like, I mean, yeah, I've struggled with eating disorders kind of on and off, but even like that aside, I've still been just kind of all over the place weight wise. And I didn't realize that that was one of my coping mechanisms. I was never the kind of person that really like ate a whole gallon of ice cream or like a whole bag of cookies, or I was never a binge eater. So even when I struggled with bulimia when I was younger, I still wasn't a binge eater. And so I don't know, like I didn't realize that I had issues with I didn't realize I had issues with food. Like it just kind of flew under the radar for a long, long time. And with I think doing all of this, it just made me really realize I was snacking probably a lot, like high carb, high fat food. And I'm not, you know, I'm like 5'1", maybe, maybe. And so weight piles on me quickly, especially if I'm very sedentary. And all of my hobbies tend to be very sedentary. Like I like to read, I like to write, I like to journal, I like to think, I like to, well, yoga. I like to do yoga. I guess that's not very sedentary, but um, like I just need to get some more activity in my life. Paula says, I've never been comfortable in my skin. I think I've had a light bulb moment as to why. Do share. Do share your light bulb moment. Bear says, "Hey Dana, even the way you describe filling your buckets, a refrigerator full of rotten food versus something healthy." Okay, so that's like what's weird to me because obviously there's stuff going on with me subconsciously that I'm not aware of. Because if you were to go look inside my fridge, you would see a lot of like fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, whole grains. I don't even like junk food. Actually, and that's one of my signs. I can tell when I'm starting to get in like a weird depressive funk is when I start eating crap. Like if I don't like McDonald's, I don't like everything about McDonald's is gross to me. They're just all of it. Like the food, the clown, the grease, the low quality, just all of it. And when I start getting to that point where I just don't care that I start eating McDonald's, like French fries and uh, things like that from there, then I'm like, okay, this something more is going on. So yeah, oh God, I'm so burned. I'm hurt. Uh yeah, it's yeah, and interesting, Paula. Paula says, yeah, just listening to you and seeing you, you don't appear to me like somebody who would have the same struggles as me. It's weird. This stuff is pretty universal. Like even guys will tell me that. They're like, they struggle with their weight, they struggle with self-esteem, they struggle with it's just people issues. Like it's universal issues when especially when somebody goes through something like this. And I think I've been going through this kind of stuff my whole life. And never really felt good in my skin. Like I was talking to Lucy earlier today, and I was saying, my whole thing with this new approach that I have is I want to get to the place where like I love like I truly love myself. Like I want to be able to come from a place of love where I'm moving my body because I love my body. I am eating to nourish my body instead of my old mindset, which was I'm going to punish my body. Like I'm going to go to the gym because I hate myself, or I'm going to eat this like crazy diet because I hate myself. And I'm trying to make that mindset shift of this is what self care looks like in motion. And and I don't like going to the gym. I hate the gym so incredibly much. I hate everything about it. Like I just really, really don't like it. And uh, I think in large part it's all the TVs in there really throw me off because I don't watch TV. Like I'll binge watch shows. God, my shoulder, my body. I'll binge watch like TV shows and stuff, but I don't watch TV really during the week. And if I do, it's not daytime like garbage TV. And so it's stressful, man. Like it's stressful to watch, to have the news on and to have all these daytime talk shows, just garbage and drama and stress. And so then there's that. And but what does motivate me to go to the gym is I'm a big fan of aerial yoga, and I love it so much. And when I'm in there, it's just you and your silk, like you and your aerial silks. And um, I really want to be able to get stronger to where I can do more on the swing because I just enjoy it so much. So that's what motivates me to get stronger. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry I'm making this live stream all about me. Um, I just, like I said, I'm just at a very weird place emotionally this week. Yeah, Maria says, yeah, do the seminar with Richard. It would help you because he's so down to earth and would be a great person to enter this new stage of your life with. Yeah, I agree. Like if of probably all of the other like YouTubers on this topic, I would probably feel most comfortable with him. It's not even him. It's the idea of being it's not being able to hide. That's what it is. Like it's going up on stage or whatever, or like the middle of the room, and it's not being able to hide. So, yeah. Bonnie says, Dana, do you get weird vibes and get depressed when a narcissist is in your presence? Yes, I do. Big time. That was another conversation Lucy and I had today. I do. And I have found when I have those feelings of intensity. Yeah. Like those feelings of intensity towards a person, like a magnetic pull that I really need to watch that. Male or female, like it doesn't matter who it is. Like if I feel that pull towards somebody, then that's a big sign I need to slow things way down and watch out. And they might have totally fine intentions, but just a big warning sign for me. Peace says, iron pills. I've been taking iron pills and they're causing my stomach to hurt. Does that mean I'm taking too much? I feel extremely weak without them. Well, as a former nurse, would say that I would get your labs done and see what's going on there. But it helps sometimes to take iron pills with food because it can really do a number on your stomach. So that's something to consider. Okay. Samuel says, "Yeah, running helps me with stress." Yeah, my whole thing, I've been doing a lot of walking. I have a hard time running. I have really big boobs and like I'm not built for speed. So I can't really run comfortably and I have no shame. Like when I go to the gym, if I do decide to start running, like I have to even if I wear like some good sports bras, like I still have to, I have to make some adjustments there and like, I don't know. It's just awkward for everybody involved when I run. So but I walk, like I'll walk fast on the treadmill. And it's cool because then I can just really turn inward during that time and just kind of get out all of my feelings and just kind of be alone with my thoughts. Des asks, "Hey Dana, what is your zodiac sign?" I'm a Leo. So July 31st is my birthday. Maria says, "I'd love to meet a woman who didn't struggle with body image. It's so hard to bypass the media messages out there as a young girl." Yeah, it is. And here's something else that's weird. So I did not realize I had this realization. I was pretty old, like probably 30, in my 30s, I would say, at the time when I realized this. I always felt kind of less than because I wasn't tall, thin, and blonde. Even though, like, I don't it's that's weird, right? Like, even though that's not my I just figured that was kind of like every guy's type, and it wasn't until I was dating some guy, I forget who, like, it didn't last apparently, dating some guy, and he had mentioned that he really liked short women and short brunettes, that was his thing, and that was, like, the first time I'd ever heard that. So yeah, it's weird, like, the messages that we I don't even know where I picked up that, like, all guys like tall, thin, blonde. Somewhere in junior high, I'm sure, stupid, I don't know. But that really helped me to be more comfortable because 'cause I've always been super insecure about my height, and, um, you know, now I don't care. Like, I just whatever, it is what it is. So, Shay is here. Shay, I hope you had a good birthday. I was thinking about you. Yeah, Little Miss says, "I have the issue too with big boobs. Yoga and hiking is the best for me." Yeah, yoga is truth truth seeker says, "Yeah, boobs are the first to go when I lose weight." I wish I had that problem. Even at my lowest weight, I still had like really big boobs and it's just I don't know. I would be totally okay if I like didn't have boobs at all. Like I just they're so in the way and I don't like them. So, okay, wait, what was I just read something. Oh God, I'm in such a weird mood. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm in such a weird mood. I feel really off tonight. Tanitria says, Dana, do you think it's the seasons making you feel this way? I think probably in part, that's why I started taking vitamin D. And here in Michigan, like it gets super dark super early, and uh, that's probably part of it. But I think a lot of it, because this has been kind of an ongoing thing for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. And I kept just like pushing through, um, to the best of my ability. Like if you ask any of the admins in the support group, and there's been many times where I had hit a wall, and was like, I gotta, like, I need some time. And then but the thing is that then I would feel awful because they do so much in there, and they are always in there. And it's hard for me to take time off when I take time off, then they're left carrying that weight. And so I don't know. It's just a lot, and it's a lot to be in this topic, and I love it. Like I love it. This is what I want to do with my life. I know that hands down. I just have got to get some better coping strategies in place, and I've got to pace myself, and I guess tune in more regularly with myself, because what happens is I I'm missing the signs of when things starting to become a problem, and then next thing I know, like I have no energy to do anything, and I can hardly get out of bed. And then things are like really a problem, and then it takes me a while to get out of that. So the plan right now is for the next 30 days, I am going to be, going to yoga, and I'm going to be going to the gym. Even if I just go to the gym and I walk, like I just need that activity in my life, and to just kind of process. I don't know, like just process. I feel like I do better when I'm moving. It helps me to kind of move those emotions through me. So um yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot. Vegan Yogi says, I loved the energy during the full moon. It was so grounding and intuitive. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Super moon. I've noticed whenever there is a major shift like that, like a super moon or a blue moon. There was a blue moon on my birthday a couple years ago. Things like that. That there tends to be like major changes that happen in my life. Like it's really weird. Yeah, Shay says nice long helps really help me when I'm in a funk. Yeah, me too. Samuel says, I've decided I'm going to start journaling, even though I'm afraid someone might read it. Okay, so here's a tip. Here's what I do that helps, because I have the exact same concerns. I journal, and I have a Word document. So I have an ongoing Word document. You can even password protect it, or like save it in Dropbox or wherever, like save it behind something that needs a password, and then only write in there. And then that way, like your friends and family aren't going to come across it. Like that really does help. I've even found when I journal things on paper that I'm less honest with myself, because I'm afraid that somebody's going to find it. So I think it's easier to just keep it online and under a password. Nancy asks, do you get massages? That can really help for a lot of things, including body image. Yeah, I do. They're not relaxing massages at all, though. Like I go to this Thai massage place. They treat it, man, it feels amazing. Like they treat my body like a hunk of meat. Like they're tenderizing a hunk of meat. It feels so good. And it works out just any stress that I'm storing. It's great. Love it. But it's not, the atmosphere is awful. It's just this awful music. It's in the mall. Like it's just, that part is not cool, but it's seriously like the best place in town. And I can't imagine. I've gone to other places before. I used to go to Aveda because I freaking love Aveda so much. And the last massage I had there was so uncomfortable and awful. And she was one of those massage therapists that had like really weak hands. And which is, oh my, that's so like, that's one of the worst things. It's one of my biggest pet peeves is when people have like weak hands and they give you like a weak handshake or like a weak, like a little weak massage. And so I had to sit there for like 90 minutes. I mean, wow, like first world problem, right? But like sit there for 90 minutes with this like little no pressure massage. It was, to me, it's like nails on a chalkboard. It so does not do anything for me. SP says, I'm 6'2" and all of my girlfriends were 5'5" and under. So I definitely dig the short ones. That's very cool. So there's two of you guys out there. uh, yeah, good point. Yeah, Jane says, Dana, I noticed that when I'm in a funk, I have to be really careful about with what I'm eating, and sweets only makes it worse for me. Yeah. Yeah, that's my thing. Like r- right now, I'm at this place where I am taking this stuff seriously and um, really been eating clean and healthy and nourishing for like the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 days now. And I feel so much better doing that. And, um, just getting movement in, making yoga a priority, not getting so down on myself if I am needing more sleep than usual. It's just I'm here. Like I'm just in this weird kind of space and I know that it won't last. I just kind of need to ride it through. And so I just need to triple up on my self-care right now. So wow, I just scrolled past this thing. Oh, Paula, there it is. Paula says, when I was love bombed, there was no way anyone could have said anything to change my mind that I was with a fabulous person. Is there anything you can say to snap someone out of the love bombing phase? That's a tough one because when a person, oh my, hold on, my neck muscles, body. When a person is in that space, they have a really hard time seeing that it's a problem because they don't want it to be a problem. Like they really feel like they've met their soulmate and that this person is so perfect for them. And to say something to somebody else can be really difficult. I mean, one thing I say to myself when I feel that level of intensity is to just go slow, to slow things way, way down. But it took me a few times around that mountain to really learn like this is, it feels amazing, like it feels ideal, but it creates that whirlwind, and that whirlwind oftentimes turns into a tornado and like it doesn't end well. Uh, as far as like talking to like their next target, sometimes it can help to just say things like, if you start noticing anything odd, like look up the terms, like specifically like what you experienced, like look up the terms gaslighting, look up projection. Uh, those are look up love bombing. You might even tell somebody just to look up love bombing because when a person's in it, they really feel like they're special and unique and different and that what they have is magical. But when they start looking into what love bombing is, then it's very eye opening. And then they realize, oh, okay, no, this is actually a huge problem. But it's difficult for them to see it. So they might be more responsive if you tell them just Google love bombing. Lucy says, do you ever get over the PTSD and depression you get after going no contact and staying no contact? I've had no contact for 8 months now, and it just doesn't seem to get any better. Any advice? It's not so much that time heals all wounds, it's what you do with that time. So, what really helped me was to really focus on building a life that I loved. So, um, and like in little ways and in big ways, cleaning out the junk drawer, going and vacuuming out my car, painting my toenails, getting out of my own pain and helping other people has always been something that's really helped me. Volunteering, um, go spend some time at an animal shelter, just something to kind of get out of your own self can really help. The PTSD is a little bit trickier, and that's something that I do still struggle with. It's still there. It's not as like debilitating at what as it was before. I mean, it used to be so bad that, I was incredibly paranoid, and it wasn't even like hyper vigilant. Like it was full out paranoid. And I really second guessed everybody around me. I wondered who else had a hidden agenda, who else was going to hurt me. I didn't want to see friends. I didn't want to see family. I just wanted to be alone. And um, definitely did not want to date, which is a good thing. I think you've really got to like be good with yourself before you start dating somebody else, like, and not think that another relationship is going to fix you. Um, but um, the hypervigilance, it depends on what symptoms you're experiencing, like the hypervigilance, the anxiety, the depression, that kind of stuff that tends to like die down over time. However, I will say, when you have something traumatic happen in your life like this, your eyes are very, like, so much more open than they were before. And what a lot of people struggle with, myself included, probably like one of the number one things people struggle with is they're like, Dana, I see scary people everywhere. And, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just go back to the way that I was? Like, when am I going to heal? When am I going to go back to the way I was? And the reality is, we never go backwards. Life is never about backwards, it's always about forward. And so, even though, and frankly, when you're getting those funny vibes, when something's not sitting right with you, when you feel, when you have trouble trusting a person, it's generally not just your PTSD, it's generally that your eyes are more open to problematic behavior and it's registering differently than it did before. So I'm guessing the old you was probably a lot like the old me, which was we were very quick to trust people. We were very quick to think that other people were a lot like us, and they're not. And it takes time to really get to know a person and to start to kind of, see them clearly for who they are. So a lot of society is very quick to just rush into things, like rush into sex, rush into like, you know, moving in with people, rush in with becoming friends with people, like all kinds of stuff. And I encourage you guys, like, give it, a solid, like, at least 30 days to really, at least, so you can kind of see more who this person is. And so those feelings of um, anxiety and that kind of stuff, more often than not, it's generally a sign that there's some sort of red flag that you're seeing, that's still not quite registering as a red flag. And I will tell you, it's so difficult when you're in the moment to fully understand that it's a red flag, especially if you don't want it to be a red flag. This is why dating can really be so tricky, you know, because if we meet somebody and we're like, wow, this person's, amazing, like they're incredibly intelligent, we have so much in common, like they're good looking or what have you, and you're feeling that attraction, and then red flags start to surface, it can be really hard to pay more attention to the red flags than it is to pay attention to those other emotions that we're feeling. It's hard to slow things down, especially when something feels so amazing that you just want to rush full speed into it. But, you know, so it can be difficult. Other symptoms of PTSD like night terrors, bad dreams, like that tends to settle down in time. And I think too, realizing that even though like it doesn't feel, even though these thoughts are uncomfortable, like this PTSD kind of stuff is really uncomfortable. um Realizing that your brain is on your side, like it's there, and it's like primary job is to keep you safe. And if you can realize that all of those uncomfortable emotions, all of those nightmares, all of that stuff, it's your brain trying to process what happened to you so it can get the messages that it needs to get in order to help better protect you next time around. And all of the hypervigilance and the paranoia and all of this, it tends to go away like once you realize that it's there for a reason and that it has messages for you. So I hope that that helps. But it takes a while. Like it takes a while for that kind of PTSD stuff to settle down to a manageable degree. And like I said, it's more of developing a different relationship with it. There's certain things like there's certain things about me. Like I am still, I would say like hyper, what would you even call that? Like hyper arousal, very easily startled to a point of ridiculousness. And I have to just laugh about it because it's like it's unlike anything you've ever seen. I Somebody else could be in the house and I know that they're there and I turn a corner at the same time and I jump and scream, and I can't do horror movies because I jump and scream, and I can't do anything that causes that in me. My startle reflexes just through the ceiling. It is what it is. And so you know, but that's the rest of it now is more manageable. Like I said, the hardest part for a lot of people is feeling like they want to be able to instantly trust people again and they're upset when they can't. But the reality is that was never healthy to begin with. And that feeling will simmer down once you realize that you are in control and you set the pace of things. And at any time that things start to feel uncomfortable, like you can distance yourself, like you're in control. Like this doesn't have to play out the way that it played out before. Yeah. Sue says, the PTSD from narc abuse gave me insomnia. I can't even take a nap. I only sleep for 3 to 4 hours, even with sleep meds. That's very normal. Very normal. I didn't sleep hardly at all for probably like the first few months. I was so tired, and I had at the time, I had this little dog. He was this little corgi mix. That dog was so cute. He was so just difficult. He was a rescue dog and like had a ton of issues and a weak bladder. And he was so tiny that and he was old. S- So anyway, he couldn't get up and down off of my bed and he had to pee like every hour. And so so even if I was getting sleep, that dog was waking me up because he would scratch at the bed to be let down. And then he'd go potty and then he'd come back and he'd scratch at the bed for me to pick him back up. And it was just all night long. And I would put him in his little, I would call it his house, his little kennel. And then he would howl and then my heart would break. And then it just, it was awful. So I get it. I ended up finally getting to the point where I started taking, what is it called? ZyQuil. It's like from the makers of NyQuil, which just sleep medication. And that did help. But just like you, Sue, I was not getting a full night's sleep. It was maybe 3 or 4 hours. And cutting out caffeine is really huge during that time too. Even if you don't think you have a problem with it, even if you don't think that you drink a lot of it, when you're already in that like hyper aroused state, even one cup of coffee can send you into panic attacks and staying awake all night. So it is really important to just be extra good to yourself right now in as many ways as you can. Um, well, thank you, all that Kaz, for the live stream donation. That's much appreciated. Um, let's see here. Lucy Girl asks, do you know of any podcasts I could watch for daily topics like motivation, procrastination, depression? Hmm. Oh, what is this channel? Actualized.org. I want to say his name is Leo. He has a ton of videos out there. So you might really like him. I don't know if he has a podcast, but I know he has a bunch of YouTube videos. Actualized.org is his channel. There is, let's see, motivation, kind of like life hack kind of things. I would do a search for life coaches maybe on YouTube and see what comes up. I've been really looking into a lot of NLP lately, like that neuro linguistic programming, and a lot of that is about kind of how to just like, brain hacks with like your thinking and how to get yourself in that right state is huge. So that's really interesting stuff. So if you get a chance and if that interests you at all, I do a search on YouTube for NLP. You might like that. All that Kaz says, I don't tell anyone my life problems anymore because I feel so stupid. Well, I get you. I totally get that. I think that's the benefit of having a support group. And I think too, realizing that most people have a lot of the same problems, they just don't talk about them. So, you're not alone. Like, you're really not alone in that. When the narc barks says, how do I not tell my toxic family anything I feel? Anything. I feel weird not telling them since they are my family, but they are toxic. Um, I'm a big fan of opening up to people that are safe. And so maybe like telling them kind of a condensed version of what happened. You don't have to go into more detail. You don't have to go into any detail that you don't want to go into. So it's really just up to you. And I would encourage you to only share stuff that you feel safe sharing, because even though they're your family, if you're opening up about stuff that's making you vulnerable, and if they're toxic and it's going to be used against you, or they're just not going to get it, or they are going to say something snarky, or blame you, then it's not worth it. Like I'm a really big fan for all of us to make sure that we really value our safety and our sanity at all times. It doesn't matter who you're around. Like, you don't owe anybody any explanation as to what's going on, especially if they're not safe people. Oh, that's interesting. Samuel is talking about a Reddit forum. Right, it's raised by narcissists. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Let's see. Oh, Walter, thank you. Says, thank you, Dana. Learning from you and others about narcissists and cluster B people helps me very much. It's very much like an awakening. A great weight has been lifted from me. I'm clearer and freer of this behavior. And thank you for the donation. And I'm really glad that I've been able to help you kind of get that clarity and validation that you need. It really truly is such an eye opener when we realize that there's a lot of really dangerous and destructive people out there, and that they can come in our lives in many different forms, because so many of us think that we'd be able to spot a problematic person, and oftentimes we can't. So it's so important for us to just go slow, look at actions over words, pay attention to how you feel, control the pace. Just because somebody wants to instantly make you their whole world doesn't mean that you have to let them, and that you don't have to trust other people. That trust is something that's earned, it's not something that's blindly given. And even if everybody else around you disagrees with how you handle things, like it's okay to kind of follow that inner intuition and that inner guidance that you have. It's there for a reason. So let's see. Interesting. Bricks and Feathers says a strong startle response is a feature of being an HSP, a highly sensitive person. I probably am a highly sensitive person. I'll have to look into that. When I heard the term empath, who was I talking to? Maybe it was in the live stream last week. I was talking to somebody. Oh God, my freaking body. I was talking to somebody last week about the term empath, and they were saying that they didn't. Oh, that their boyfriend or whatever didn't believe that there were such a thing as empaths, and she had said it was because he just had no emotions and wasn't connected. And it was interesting because I felt the exact opposite way. I didn't think that there was really such a thing as empaths, because I just thought that everybody felt things as intensely as I did, and that if they didn't, that if I could just give them more love, that they eventually could. Like, I truly was using my baseline for normal is how I viewed the world. And it was just it was just very strange for me that other people, like, weren't so emotionally invested in, like, everything. And, yeah, it's a very eye-opening thing. Kevin says, "What would you say this is? Is this narcissism? He says that he is introverted, and I heard him say that he is smarter than other people he works with." Well, Kevin, let's put aside the term narcissism for a moment, because I think that can throw people off. Think about his behavior in terms of, like, what are you looking for in your life? So if what he said is kind of off-putting for you and you're like, "Oh, well, that's kind of weird," um, then I would use that as a signal to slow things way down and to just slowly get to know him and see if there's any other signs. Because, because on a surface level, you have a person's walking around and they're like, I've got it all figured out. Nobody else. It reminds me of that scene from The Princess Bride, if you've ever seen that movie, where what was it? The little guy, like this little Sicilian guy, and he's going up against Wesley, and he's just like, everybody else is morons, and basically I understand everything and everybody else doesn't. And that level of grandiosity and arrogance, normal, yeah, that's on the side of narcissism. But at the same time, narcissism is on a spectrum, and um we all have behaviors that fit into that to some degree. So that's why it's important to kind of just slow things down and really get clear on kind of, is he your kind of people? And the only way to tell that is going to be over time, and seeing what else kind of surfaces, and just taking things slow. uh When the Narc Barks asks, how do we work on getting good sleep with no meds? There's a thing out there called sleep hygiene. And so when I was working as a psychiatric nurse, this was one of the things that we would go over. It's such a common struggle for so many people. And so we always encouraged people, try to go to bed, develop like a sleep routine that helps. So going to bed at the same time every night, waking up around the same time every single morning, making sure that you're shutting down, your electronics so you're not on your phone. So you, let's say for example, if your goal is to be in bed by 10 and you're up at 6, to shut off electronics and everything by like 9 o'clock at the latest. I think for a lot of people, reading, and again, not on a Kindle, like reading a book, because the whole goal is to just rest your eyes as much as possible. Reading a relaxing book before bed can be really helpful. Really watching your caffeine intake. That's so huge. If you're struggling with sleep, I encourage people just to cut it out completely. I know that's fighting words for like a lot of people, but if you can switch to decaf, if you can switch to tea, if you can cut out the pop, those kinds of things, it really does make a difference. If you, um, I would encourage people too to really feed your brain stuff that helps. So if you're watching a lot of news, that can be incredibly stressful. And again, it's if we're so used to living like this, it's probably not even coming across as that it's stressful. So, like for example, my father, he watches CNN like unlike any other, and he wonders why he's so stressed out and has high blood pressure. I'm like, Dad, seriously, like give it a rest. It's going to be okay. But it's just that, because that news, that constant everything wrong in the world, it's so stressful and it's so upsetting. And there's all these kind of jump cuts with the footage, and it it really creates a lot of anxiety within a person. So um really paying attention to what are you watching, and is it causing anxiety within you? And if so, then doing less of that. Um, you know, trying hard to not take naps during the day, but like to wait until that nighttime, your bedtime, to sleep, having a sleep routine. So all of these kind of mental cues to get yourself in the process of this is when I go to bed, kind of a thing. So spending time in bed for sleep, like using your bed basically to sleep. So you're not doing work in there, you're not hanging out in bed, you're not doing these other activities, basically sleeping and sex were things for your bed. And you know but um really using your bed for sleep, so your body kind of gets on autopilot of this is where we sleep. Those things can all really help. So I hope that helps. That's a really great suggestion. Shay says binaural beats help too. Yes, and there's a lot of videos on YouTube for those, and those are best viewed with headphones. So that's something. There's a lot of guided imagery that can help. Relaxation videos. Jason Stevenson and what's the other guy? Michael Seeley. Two fantastic YouTubers that do guided imagery and relaxation. And they'll have some of them that are, like hours long, like 3 hours long, 8 hours long. So you can put them on, to go to bed to, those kinds of things. True Seeker saying Epsom salt. Yeah, Debbie's recommending yoga breathing. Yes. Vegan Yogi saying getting in the habit of making your bed in the morning. Yep. Shay says bay tea makes a nice sleep tea. Chamomile, these kinds of things can really help to just send those signals to your body of like it's time to relax now. Even maybe doing some visualization exercises where you can think, because especially if a person's in this kind of like hyper aroused state, to visualize the stress and anxiety as something like a big ball or something. And because your brain is going to want to keep like chewing on that to make sense of it. And a lot of this is very normal when a person goes through something traumatic. So you can visualize taking all of the stress and anxiety and the worry and all of that and thinking to yourself, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to place it over by the bedroom door. And in the morning, I can go and pick that ball up again if I so choose. But for right now, I'm going to just put that over there. And so then that way you're kind of letting your brain know that it's okay. Like we can let this stuff go for a little bit and we can pick it back up if we so choose. Because your brain's going to want to, your brain's job is it's a meaning making machine and it's designed to keep you safe. And so when something traumatic happens, your brain, that's where all of this like rehashing and pulling apart comes from, is your brain is trying to figure out what on earth happened so it can prevent it from happening again. And when a person goes through emotional or psychological abuse, there's so much manipulation and so much confusion with it that your brain has a hard time trying to make sense out of it because it does, because we're not seeing the full picture, you know? So, and we're seeing things still through our perspective. So it can be very difficult for us to try to make sense, to make logical sense out of something that's illogical. Um, let's see. When the narc barks says, how do I stop my heart from racing? It's really scary. Taking time to really get grounded can help. Cutting out caffeine is huge for that. Um, Doing different kind of grounding exercises. Yeah, one that I like to do is to sit somewhere and imagine that your feet, that like roots are coming out of your feet, that like energetic cords, maybe is a better way, going down into the earth, that's just really grounding you, like that you are here, you are now, you are safe, you are okay. And maybe developing some sort of mantra around that. You know, you are here, you are now, you are here, you know, you are okay, you are safe, or be here now. And getting very, just very centered with that. So, and Lucy says, a couple drinks helps me too. Well, and yes, that can help sometimes too. Okay, let's see. I'm going to scroll down here. Let's see. Rick is talking about issues that he's been struggling with, and that it's literally been one of his top 3 problems for the past year and a half. Oh, I like, okay, let me address this and I'll go back to what vegan yogi is saying is um like as far as relationships go, and I've mentioned this before, but I used to wait until things got really bad. I would ignore my intuition. I would stay in situations that were just not working because it didn't feel valid They didn't feel valid enough to leave. And it wasn't until fairly recently that I realized, you know what? I don't want to stay in situations that are uncomfortable, that are crazy making, that are perpetually confusing, that are causing me mental anguish or distress of any kind. Like that's just not, I'm not doing that anymore, you know? And I think that can be a really good kind of, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like guidepost or, yeah, guidepost for criteria for different situations, not even just relationships, but like friendships, work environments, really paying attention to how you feel. If you're getting to the point where you're dreading things, if it is one of your top 3 problems, if you're, experiencing sleep changes, eating changes, weight changes, these kinds of things, those are all signs that okay, something's out of alignment here and something needs to change. And Vegan Yogi mentions making a vision board on Instagram or Pinterest and go to it every time that you feel you need to pull yourself up. The images will trigger your mind to pull up the rope onto higher positive vibes. Yeah. And doing affirmations has always really helped me. It's one of the things I do when when I do go to the gym or when I do walk is just to remind myself like I am here, I am now, I am powerful, I am capable, I am competent, I can do this, I am strong, I'm a powerhouse, you know. Like just kind of feeding your brain, reminding yourself like you can do this and you can get through this and you have a lot like there's a lot that's right with you, you know. The downside to vision boards, I think it depends on where a person is emotionally. Because if a person's feeling really, really low, it can be difficult. It can be difficult, I think, to have a vision in general. Like it just kind of feels like you're just stuck in this dark hole and that it's always going to be like this. And sometimes if the person starts like setting a vision that's really high of like, oh, I really want to, I don't know, travel to Thailand and I want to I don't know, whatever. Like I want a certain type of car or life or you know what I mean? Like whatever people normally put on vision boards. I think my vision boards are weird, so I'm not even going to use my own examples, but like the stuff part of that people tend to put on vision boards, that can really depress a person if they're, really far away from that. So I would encourage you because you can remember, like, you can keep updating a vision board. So if your vision board really should inspire you and motivate you. So I would encourage you if you're putting stuff up there that feels like it's a million miles away to back it up a little bit and put things on there that do feel that are within your grasp. So, and you can start moving yourself up kind of that emotional scale that way. Oh, I really like that. Music, Fashion, and Passion says, I've made a hypnosis audio of myself speaking positive things for me to listen to so I can hear my own self saying it. I really like that. Really, really like that. I made a video and it's a podcast too a while back about it was relaxation and affirmations for people with PTSD. And so all of that is just positive affirmations. It's the purpose of that was to try to be grounding and relaxing all at the same time. So that might be something else somebody wants to check out. I don't remember the title of it. Something like if you probably type into YouTube like relaxation affirmations for PTSD, it'll show up. Yes, totally. Vegan Yogi says, yeah, changing your talk, saying it's easy to feel dot dot dot. I'm grateful for dot dot dot. I enjoy dot dot dot. It feels good when I dot dot dot. Yes. Yes, just even doing the grateful one, like if you're kind of stuck on this, doing the grateful one of I am thankful and grateful, and then just start listing off as many things as you possibly can. Sometimes that can really help to slow down that train. If you're on this kind of negativity train or this depression train, being grateful can slow it down and then start turning it around. So saying things like, you know, I am like really thankful and grateful for a hot, clean shower. I am really thankful and grateful for whatever the weather is outside, for a really, I love the rain, like a really wonderful rainy day. I'm really thankful and grateful for, what, just kind of whatever. It's amazing when you, in trying to use different things each time, it really stretches your brain to just, there's so much to be thankful and grateful for. There really, really is. And that can help to just kind of calm you down and to soothe you. Oh, that's an interesting thing. Maria says, a huge aha moment for me was learning that we bond to whom we give to and not the other way around. It changed my life. I'm so protective to who I bond to now. Yeah. And I think, the whole giving to people can be in so many different ways. And like giving on a more daily basis, like time and energy and emotion to, and on a deeper basis, like who we're really spending time with, like friends, people in relationships, um, who we're giving our emotions to, who we're giving our bodies to. That's a big thing. That's something that is I don't know, like not discussed too often. And I guess it makes me seem like very old fashioned when it comes to stuff, but I think it's important to go slow and to realize that intimacy with another person, it is incredibly bonding, and there is this whole kind of energetic exchange, and it's something that's very special, and I think a lot of people this, we live in like this whole like hookup culture, and where people don't have any energy invested in each other, and it does drain you. And this is not coming from like an old fashioned point of view of what women should or shouldn't do or be like, or that it's sex is bad or wrong. I think sex is healthy. I think it's a wonderful expression. It's fun. Like there's a lot of, or not even women, like men too. There's a lot of good things about sex, but if we're so free with giving that away to people that we don't know, it can be incredibly draining, and it can create these bonds that are not really there too. Because then good sex can make us feel like, oh, this must be a good person. And that does not always go hand in hand. So it's just, you know, important that we value ourselves and our emotions and our time. Yeah. And there's a lot of people. I was actually listening to um, a show, was it last night? And they were talking about like with dating apps. This was shocking to me that the statistics of people that actually meet up in real life from dating apps is less than 1%. Less than 1%. That's crazy. So, if you're chatting with, 100 people, you're only probably going to meet one in person. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, that's actually like pretty accurate. I've only met a handful of people when I was back on like dating app sites. I chatted with a lot of them, but then like there's no connection there, or things get weird, or you just get a weird vibe, or I don't know, whatever. And it just fizzle, or they live too far away, or things fizzle out, or there's just not that connection. So I think realizing that statistically speaking, less than like 1% of the people, you're meeting less than 1% of the people that you're chatting with on there, it's a sign to really value your emotions and your time. There's a lot of married people that are on dating sites. There's a lot of people with bad intentions that are on there. A lot of people that are just bored and they're just kind of wanting to chat with somebody that they find attractive, and it can suck up your whole day if you let it, and then it can create this artificial bond that you just don't know until you meet a person in person to see if there's true chemistry there. And then, even if there is chemistry, you don't really start to get to know them until like the first 30 days. Like the first 30 days at least, they're going to be on their best behavior. So, um, it just takes time to start to get to know somebody. Yeah, James says, I've met 2 out of 25 or so that I messaged. Most were boring or just didn't talk much. Yeah. Yep. It's so true. I've really learned, you know, like it's so easy for people to kind of present themselves. I mean, my God, especially for people to present themselves in like the best way, especially now with technology the way it is. Like everybody knows how to take a good picture, especially with there's all these like filters out there, and you know, like people can really take some good pictures that really don't capture what they look like. And that's assuming that the pictures are even recent, because I think most people tend to put up older pictures of themselves that they liked. And so, it's really easy for us to think that a person's a certain way, that looks a certain way or what have you, and they just don't look like that. And or for them to write like a really witty profile, and then like you meet them and they don't talk. I just there's just so many ways things can go south. So it's just important to just go slow, value your time, don't get caught up in like endless messages. If a person is really interested, they're going to be taking steps forward to spend time with you. They're not going to want to just message endlessly. So, yeah. And I would encourage you to really think about, like, if you are meeting people online, uh how far are you, like, not how far are you willing to drive, but how far are you really going to drive? My whole thing used to be like, if I really meet this amazing person, like I would go anywhere. Like we could make it happen. And the reality is, with like, that's probably not going to happen. You need to spend time with the person if you're going to be in a relationship with them. And so I'm kind of to the point now where it's like, if they live further than like 20 minutes away, like it's probably not going to happen, because who wants to do something that's long distance like that? I know that sounds really lazy, but it's true. So, yeah. James says, yeah, it's not a bad thing. It feels very empowering to weed out the wrong people. Yeah. And he says, and yes, neither woman looked like her pictures. LOL. Yes. So, so true. It happens. And that's the thing too, like with social media, is um, it's very easy for people to put a very scripted version of their reality out there. It's their highlight reel. It's all of their best pictures. It's like their wittiest profile, what have you. And ladies, and even guys, probably, I'm sure there's like a male version of this that exists out there. But if a guy has a profile and it's just a bunch of bathroom selfies with his shirt off, and he's just got a few words in his profile, like, you're looking at a person who's probably just looking for sex. That's like the bare minimum effort that a person could possibly put in. And if it's like turning in a resume or something, or a job application, and you've spilled coffee all over it and it's crumpled and there's things are scratched out, like that person just doesn't care, right? Like they don't care. So if they don't even care at that stage, then just keep walking. Like, when you want somebody to make some sort of effort, and that's just a big warning sign when somebody doesn't make any effort. Yeah, Kevin says, "Yes, my roommate is meeting this girl from a dating site." Yeah. And sometimes it can work out, but I just I encourage men and women, like, seriously meet for coffee, because for either male or female, if you meet, you're gonna know within, like, 5 minutes if there's chemistry, if this person's even somebody you wanna get to know, and you're also gonna know if they're a complete creeper pretty fast off the bat, and that's the other downside if you're meeting somebody that's coming from far away. Like, this has happened to me before too, where, like, I would go on a date with somebody and they drove, like, an hour and a half, and then I felt obligated to have this, like, long, and I think they felt the same way, like, the kind of this pressure to have, like, if to make the trip worth it. Like, we're gonna have this long date, we're gonna go for a long dinner and then do something after that, and I've realized that's a giant waste of time for both people, because you don't know until, like, it takes 5 minutes, you know, and you're just wasting everybody's time if you meet and there's just really no chemistry, and then you're stuck with at dinner, and then it gets really awkward, because at least it does for me, because then it's like, okay, if this guy is going to pay for dinner and I know that I'm not interested, then I don't want him spending money on me if I'm not interested. And so then you're like, okay, well then we need to, like, split the check. It just gets so awkward. So I just encourage people, meet for, like, a very casual coffee date. That way you can just see if they are who you think that they really are. And you can always spend time with them after that, but it's a good, and plus if you're trying to slow things down and control the pace, doing a coffee date can be a really great way to do that, because then you can say, "Hey, you know what? Let's meet for coffee." Um, you know, And you can even say something like, "I've got plans after this. So, let's meet for coffee for, I don't know, 45 minutes or whatever." And it's short, buy your own coffee. So that way, especially ladies, just buy your own drink. That way you're not feeling obligated to stay longer, or that you somehow, I think a lot of women too feel obligated to show affection if a guy buys them dinner. It's harder to, if you're not interested in somebody and they've bought you dinner and, like, they try to kiss you, and it just, I don't know. I have found just coffee, you buy your own, no expectations, no weird sense of obligation. You can see if there's a connection, and then you can proceed accordingly. And guys, I would encourage you to do that too, because if you are going to be buying, that way you're not spending a lot of money on somebody that there may or may not be a connection with. Debbie says, "Yeah, and real relationships seem flat at first." Yes, that's another big thing that a lot of people, myself included, struggle with, is dating after, like, a narcissist or a sociopath, because they tend to come across as, like, so intense, and so it's the love bombing, it's that whirlwind, it's that intense connection that you feel right away. And normal people don't have that. And so it can really feel like, what's wrong with me? I'm not attracted to normal, like, nice people. And then that's its own weird thing to try to navigate, because um not every nice person is going to be like your people. So just because they're nice doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily be attracted to them. So don't get discouraged if you're out there and you're trying to meet new people and you're like, "What's so wrong with me? Like, this guy or this gal is so nice and they're so great, but I just don't feel anything for them." It might just sometimes the chemistry is just not there. But it's just like dating with a fresh set of eyes. It just takes a while to kind of navigate all of that out there, and to slow things down at a pace that you're comfortable with, and realize that love bombing is never healthy. Moving at a whirlwind pace is never healthy, and to just kind of go slow. it takes time and it takes practice. Yeah, Free Spirit says that intensity would scare me now. Narc abuse has really made me change my taste in men. Yes. Yeah. Well, and that intensity should scare a person. It's very rare. Like, I think it's very rare that healthy people have that are intense like that. I would say it's a good red flag, you know? So it's good to slow things down. It just really goes back to, I think, paying attention to how you feel. And it can be so confusing and it can be so easy to blame it on PTSD and just think, okay, that's why I am like feeling nauseated and feeling like I can't sleep. And I feel like um, I feel like if I was a compass, like a magnet went onto my compass, like I just feel very kind of disoriented around this person. But generally, normal people don't make you feel like that. That's tends to be a sign that you're dealing with a potentially problematic person. And so to really go slow or just distance yourself completely when you experience that. Phil says, I'm very cautious about dating. I have been single for 3 years. I can't get out of it. I am too scared to move forward. You probably heard me talk about this before, but uh, I'm a big fan of the website meetup.com. I think it's a really great way to kind of get back out there and to meet new people in a safe way. You're meeting as a group, kind of worst case scenario. Hopefully, you have some fun doing whatever it is that you're going to do, and you're going to meet some like minded people. And there's not that pressure to be on a date. It's just you're out there, you're having fun, you're meeting like minded people, and then you go home. So that can really help. Shay says, yes, if somebody starts insisting, that's a red flag for me. Yeah, I would agree. I think anybody that doesn't value value your boundaries and continues to push them. So if you're like, this isn't okay with me, or like, I've got to, I go to bed at 10 o'clock or whatever, please don't call after 10. And then they're calling you at 10:30. If they, if you don't want to go out for dinner, if you do want to have coffee and they keep pushing you, like, no, no, really, like, we've got to go to this new restaurant. It's amazing. It'll be so great. If they keep pushing you, it's a sign that they're not respecting your boundaries. And yeah, I totally get that. Like, that's a huge turn off for me too. I encourage people to start with kind of regaining your sense, regaining, I don't even know, like your sea legs with all of this and learning to interact with people in a different way because that's what this is. Y- y- you're these experiences change you, but it feels negative at first, but really it's positive because it's very eye-opening. And it takes a while to get acclimated to that and to interact with people in a healthier way. And um, it can be very difficult. I strongly encourage people, like, don't just jump straight into dating, because if you don't have solid footing on what's going on with you and kind of what registers as a problem versus what doesn't register as a problem, if you don't trust your intuition, if you're not in tune with your emotions, the odds of you getting tangled up with another person like this is very, very high. And so I'm always a big fan of, take what you're learning from all of this about boundaries and deal breakers and your intuition and your emotions. And uh, when you get back out there, practice it in a safer way. And that's why I think to kind of like meetup.com can be so good, because it can be a more of a non-threatening way of meeting, like, quote unquote friends first. So you're just going slow and you're getting to know a person, and there's not that intense emotional investment that's there like there is with dating. So James says, so how far is too far with being pushy? How do I know when to stop? Well, I would say if a person is interested, then they really don't need to be pushed. So I guess the way I kind of look at it is in most situations, and I guess it depends on what context you're talking in, but if it's generally speaking, like if it's not like a hell yes, then I would say it's a hell no. Especially when it comes to intimacy and pushing somebody to get in to go for a date or sex or anything like that. Like if they're not really enthusiastic about it, then I would take that as they're just not interested and I would leave it alone. What does that mean, Daniel? Daniel says, when I'm on a date, the woman puts me on their test. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? 17959 says, I had parents who were not interested in me, and now I believe nobody is. Yeah, that's a very difficult thing, I think, for a lot of people to get past is, you know, those are the earliest bonds that we have are with our parents. And if you have parents that are just emotionally or physically or both not available for whatever reason, if they are, you know, addicts, if they're personality disordered, if they work all the time, if they're depressed all the time, if they're kind of you name it, if they're just not able to bond effectively, then it can create a lot of problems for a child. And so how you're feeling is very normal, and kind of relearning all of kind of getting rid of all of that programming and putting in healthier programming to build yourself up and realize that you matter, that you have value, that there's a lot that's right with you. That takes a lot of work. And so when I say that something takes work, what I mean by that is it takes ongoing practice on a fairly regular basis. Doing affirmations, paying attention to your self talk, really getting in tune with what is likable and right about you. What are your strengths? And then being realistic about it. Like, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? And kind of getting a more accurate picture of who you are, and not seeing yourself through the lens of parents like that, but seeing yourself through the like through a healthier lens. And it can really set us up to fail if we're walking through life thinking that we don't have anything to offer anybody else. Then we tend to get tangled up with kind of whoever shows us warmth or affection. We tend to cling to that, and oftentimes it tends to be the wrong people. So, learning to really love yourself, that you matter, that in one of the other ways that to do that is, you might have heard me talk before about kind of getting in tune with your inner child. And that kind of can seem like, what is she talking about with that? But if you think about, there's this kind of your inner self, really. Your inner self is always there, it's always with you. And that inner self is the loudest when we're the youngest. So, because that inner self doesn't know about low self-esteem or like judgment or kind of even right from wrong. Kids kind of just do what they want to do. They're interested in what they're interested in, and they like what they like and they dislike what they dislike. And kind of getting more in tune with those more unscripted emotions. So kind of once you can get to that place where you're more in tune with yourself, your likes, your dislikes, your wants, your needs, your feelings, all of these things, and starting to tune into that like on a regular basis, and then realizing, okay, you might have had some really lousy parents, but now that you're an adult, you can really work towards being that parent to yourself that you always wished you had. And so thinking about things of like, and this is can be a good way too to kind of double check your self-care, is to ask yourself like, would I treat a child this way? And if you're finding yourself pushing yourself really hard or eating a bunch of garbage or being very unhealthy, to think like, would I expect this of a child? Would I do this to a child? And if the answer is no, then odds are it's probably not a good idea for you to be doing it to yourself. So those are some things to think about. Yeah. 17959 says, I appreciate what you're saying, but it's really hard to change this. Mm. And it says, I am the product of a failed abortion. Then, when I was a little older, they tried to give me away. Those are only two highlights. Yeah. Well, your parents' actions towards you, and I can understand how that would feel incredibly personal, like that they didn't want you. But the reality is that you were so young, like they didn't even know you. And their actions are a reflection of them. They're not a reflection of you. And I can totally understand how you would really struggle with feelings of self-worth and all of this, but it sounds like the fact that they were trying to give you away, especially, um, that they had a lot of stuff going on with them, and it sounds like you got the brunt of a lot of that. And I think to see that through like an adult set of eyes now, because as children we internalize this, all of this stuff, especially the stuff that the hurt that our parents cause and things that happen. We see it through that child set of eyes where we're like, what's wrong with me? What did I do that's so bad? Why am I so unlovable? But if you can go back and visit some of these thoughts from a more grounded, like you're here now, it's an adult perspective, and you can realize, thinking about if another adult did this, that that it's not the child, right? Like that's not that the child is unlovable or that there's anything wrong with the child. It's something's up with the parents. It's not you. It's not you. And digging in and doing a lot of that self-talk on a regular basis. And yes, it is a lot of work and it is a journey and it's intense and it's not fair and it's not right. And I wish that you didn't have to do this. It breaks my heart and it makes me so angry all at the same time when that people that really shouldn't have kids and then do stuff like this. Um, because it's just so not fair to the kids, but it's not you. It's not you. It's them. 100% it's them. Yeah, and that's interesting. Debbie says, I find yelling I find yelling instantly calms me since I heard it for so long. Yeah, a lot of people, we tend to be attracted to what's comfortable. And if what's comfortable is chaos, then and it's not and that chaos doesn't register as chaos, like that just registers as something that's comfortable, then yeah, then that's a pattern that we're running. I mean, that's the good thing though. I shouldn't even say pattern, like it's a program. If you think of your brain as a program, then um, it's really all about kind of checking those programs. Do they need to be updated? Are we running old programs? Are these programs still valid? Do they still serve us? Or, do we need to change them or delete them altogether? So, oh, one thing before I was just thinking of the screen, what was it? 17595, the screen name. Look into NLP, neuro linguistic programming. That stuff is really powerful stuff, and it can create some pretty major shifts within a person in a fairly short amount of time. There's tons of YouTube videos on different strategies, and uh, you know, even just using a few of those strategies can be incredibly helpful. So yeah, it's interesting. Speaking of like the different things that are comfortable, when I was growing up, my best friend in elementary school, I spent a lot of time at her house, and I really, it's just weird. Like both of her parents smoked, and her dad was, I think he was in Vietnam. Like he was just a little bit off, and he was a chain smoker, and and it was just like, it's weird even thinking about this now, but he used to smoke Benson and Hedges, which like you don't really think of a guy smoking Benson and Hedges, but like these super long cigarettes, and he'd only smoke like two or three drags and he'd put them out. And he obsessively painted these little like pewter figurines, and he had thousands of them. And but anyhow, I I was, the smell of cigarette smoke was very comforting for me. And being in a smoky, dark house was very comforting for me. And I think, kind of hindsight, one of the reasons I started smoking when I was younger was for that reason, because it was comforting. It's weird. It's just interesting, like where we pick up some of these things, because that wasn't my house, but it was her house, and I was more comfortable at her house than I was at my house. So, like, that's where I got that from. Weird. Yeah, totally. When the Narc Bark says, children are natural yogis. They live in the moment and love life 100%. Yes. Yeah, it's great. And thinking back, because if you're feeling depressed, if you've been abused, if you've been told that there's so much about you that's like bad or wrong or what have you, it can be really difficult to think about, like, who am I? Especially if we've been feeling like very erased by that relationship, or ground down, or we've even just sacrificed, we've given so much of ourselves to this person or this relationship. It can be really difficult to just get grounded and be like, well, who am I? Like, what do I like? What do I dislike? How do I feel? Like, what are my wants? What are my needs? What are my feelings? Like, what is any of this? And it takes some doing it. And a good way to start maybe exploring this process is to think about, what did you like when you were a kid? What did the 6-year old you, what were they all about? Or what was the 16-year-old version of you all about? You know? And to start kind of exploring that. Like, were you super into hockey? Were you super into, for me, I was really into gymnastics and doing all of these. Like, I used to stand on my head nonstop when I was a kid. I have no idea why. I think it was just to see if I could do it. And my parents thought I was nuts, because I would watch TV like that. Like, I just stood on my head all the time. And, now I love yoga. Like, I get to stand on my head. It's just weird. So, and the 6-year-old and the 16-year-old version of me, super into reading and writing. And that's a thing that I still like to do now. So examining, like, who were you when you were 6 or when you were 16, and do some of those things still hold true? So start there. Another exercise that I encourage people to do is to, you know, I don't know if I what I really call it, but I guess like the 9-10 concept of thinking about things on an emotional scale. So 0 being ice cold, 10, 5 being lukewarm, 10 being absolutely like that juices me. You're excited, you're enthused, you're just that's a hell yes. Like you are so thrilled for those tens in your life. And then to start going through your environment and starting with things that you're not emotionally invested in. It's so much easier to think clearly when you're not emotionally invested in something. So, I use the example like I love these kinds of pens, like these Pilot kind of inky pens. Love them so much. Like these are a 10 for me. I really enjoy writing with them. Ballpoint pens like this are nails on a chalkboard. I hate them so much. I don't they seriously blah, blah, blah. I don't like them at all. They're probably like a two or three tops. Like on a good day, they're a three. Like I don't even like, I just don't like them. I don't like touching them. I don't like anything. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't, whatever. Like I don't like them. Uh, this lip gloss stuff has been in here for a while. I've used these examples for like a long time now. This lip gloss is amazing. It's menthol and it like makes your lips all numb and tingly and feels amazing, and it does wonders for your lips, and I love it so very much. And they don't test on animals, and I'm all about this. So that's a 10. And so kind of using that scale to think about objects in your environment, and then the whole goal is to really have things in your environment that are, I'm going to say shoot for a 9 or a 10. And obviously this scale is not a hard science, so it's going to grow and change as you grow and change. So what might be a 10 for you today might be a 5 or a 1 for you 6 months from now. But it's good to continue to be in tune with yourself and like, what resonates with you, what really juices you, and what doesn't. And then do more of that stuff that really juices you and really excites you. And, um, yeah, just spending more time in that zone. It's interesting. So start small, start with objects like that. It can be very interesting to move to your closet and to go through your clothes and to think, because closets are really weird. Like there's so much, I think, subconscious stuff that manifests itself in our wardrobe. It- at least it did for me. I've got pictures. I will post pictures on Instagram here in this next week. I had this freak out moment. This was before I started my YouTube channel. This was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, where um, maybe it wasn't that long ago, maybe 3.5, I don't know, whatever, years ago. I had this freak out moment where I'm like, I hate everything in my closet. And it wasn't just like a girl moment. Like it was a legit, seriously, like, who do I think that I am when I go shopping? Because I don't like button down shirts. And yet here I stand with a whole closet full of button down shirts. I, or like super sexy clothes. Like I don't, that's not me, or like business casual. Seriously, like F my life. If I have to dress business casual, like I'm living my life really wrong. Like it's just not me. And so I was like going through so it's like total freak out moment where I just threw everything out of my closet. And I was like, Dana, seriously, what is going on here? Uh, and I don't even know, it was just weird. I'm like, I decided I'm gonna only wear 31 things for the next 31 days. And that might seem like a lot, but it's not. So 31 things total. I'm including socks, shoes, like gym clothes, like yoga clothes, work clothes, going out clothes. So that broke down to like 5 tops, 5 bottoms. It really isn't a whole lot, but really that's kind of all you need. And it was, um, oh, and I think during that time too, I decided I wasn't going to wear makeup. And so like I just roll into work one day and I tell my coworkers like you guys get used to repeats because I'm doing this thing where I'm really trying to figure out who I am and like what I'm about. And um, I realized at that point, like felt I felt like, I don't know, weird not wearing makeup. And I'm like, I don't want to feel that way when I don't wear makeup. Like I don't want to feel insecure when I'm not wearing makeup. So I'm just going to not wear makeup for the next 31 days and break this feeling that I have. And wearing the same clothes pretty much over and over again. It was very eye-opening about it just taught me a lot about like what I really liked and what I didn't like. So I would encourage you guys, and that's extreme, but to think about things in your closet and then same thing with food. You can go in your refrigerator. How do certain foods make you feel? And here's something else you can think about, especially with food. How does stuff make you feel in the moment? And then how does stuff make you feel, an hour or a day later? So that kind of takes this whole like emotional scale game to the next level because something can give us that short term gratification, but then long term, we feel guilty or gross or bad or what have you. And at least my goal is to get out of that zone of I don't want to feel gross and guilty and bad. Like I want to feel nourished and empowered and okay with my decisions about things. So trying to get clear, I guess, with yourself about that is huge. Okay, let's see. Oh, somebody was just talking about gray rock, and I wanted to I fall down these holes in YouTube all the time, and I was watching a video earlier today about Marilyn Manson's ex-wife, who I didn't even know who's married. Like apparently I've been living in a cave, but I forget her name. She's like a burlesque woman. I really like her. I didn't think that I would. When I first came across like the thumbnail of the video, I just thought, oh god. But she was really I don't know. She's a class act. Like I really liked her. And one of the things that she had said was basically, never sacrifice your dignity. Like if a situation ends bad, just have the mindset going in that you're just going to handle this like with style and grace. I'm such a huge fan of that. Of, if you're ever in a situation, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, a work situation, you know, to be at that place where you never have to sacrifice your dignity. And even if you do feel like you have to, don't. Like no situation where you have to sacrifice any part of yourself is no situation like that is worth being in. So keep your dignity about yourself. Like it's important. And same thing with gray rock, like just not I guess the point of that is not giving people the satisfaction, especially if they're trying to hurt you or if they've been really ugly, like they don't deserve your time or your energy or your emotions or your tears or anything else. Like telling yourself, I'm going to handle this with style and grace. And if you've treated me like garbage, I'm out. Like I'm going to move on and you lost a good thing. Like getting to the point where you know what you bring to the table, that you know what's right and good and lovable about you, and that you're not looking for that validation and that value to come from outside of yourself, that you're not looking for somebody else to make you feel loved or lovable or valuable or worthy, because that's a very difficult way to live. Then you're always kind of at the mercy of, well, how do they feel about me? And that's where a lot of that people pleasing tends to come into play, where we start sacrificing ourselves and we start saying yes when we mean no because we're so desperate in need of that, like that approval and that validation. And that's, like I said, it's a very rocky way to live, especially if you're dealing with people that are have these pathological personalities, and because it's never going to be enough, because it's not about us. It's never about us. It's always about them, and they're toxic people, and toxic people have toxic thinking, and you're never going to get your needs met, especially with a narcissist who's all about them. If they're all about them, then they're not going to be about you. And so trying to turn yourself into this emotional pretzel in order to get that validation and that approval, it's I mean, it'll suck the life out of you. It really, really will. Because there's just, you give and you give and you give and you give, but their bucket has like holes in it. So no matter how much you try to pour into it, it's just going to drain out, and you're just going to keep giving until you have nothing left to give. And so I would encourage you to focus on those nourishing relationships, the words that give and take, where both people are feeling nourished and valued and fed in the relationship, not where you're feeling starved out or that you have to settle for crumbs. That's a big sign too. If you're feeling you have to settle for crumbs from the person that you're with, then realistically that relationship's not worth being in, because it's like the saying goes, crumbs don't keep a person fed, they keep a person starving. So it's not a good place to be. Paula, that's a great question. She says, if someone steps over a boundary and you cut them out of your life, what would they have to do to be accepted back? I have never gone back. Some have tried to reconnect, but I just can't do it. Um, so for me, I don't, I'm at the point in my life where I really don't do second chances, especially if a person treats me with disdain, contempt, hostility, or aggression. I'm done. Like, I will not be disrespected. So that's a hard line for me. I don't care if I've been friends with them for 10 years. I don't care. And I'm talking like egregious acts, right? Not a person's, well, I mean, I guess I am, but I'm even in little ways. Like, for me, I guess what I'm saying, I aim for, if the relationship that I'm in, it has to have open, honest, sincere, solutions oriented communication. There has to be dignity and respect. Those elements aren't there, then I'm not there. If those elements are there, but then all of a sudden this person starts treating me with, contempt, disdain, hostility, aggression, generally I've only had that happen like once that I can think of, where like everything else was seemed healthy, and then there was just kind of this like switch, and I can pinpoint exactly when that happened. It was when I was telling her about my first book, and she became really ugly and then began making my life a living hell. And we worked together, so it wasn't so easy for me to separate, but um it was that moment I realized, not only is she like, she's not a friend. Not only is she not a friend, she doesn't even like me. So that was a pretty clear cut thing of, I just cut that cord, I blocked her across the board, and I didn't ever look back. So that to me is kind of deal breaker stuff. I think people can have disagreements and still treat each other with dignity and respect. And you know, things shouldn't be an emotional roller coaster. Like, that's things are generally an emotional roller coaster when there's deceit, lies, and manipulation afoot. So I don't like that. I like having peace in my life. Like, I don't want those highs and lows. Like, I value peace. I value sincere communication. I value just that honesty. And that emotional roller coaster too tends to come from dishonesty. It's that the highs tend to come from the love bombing and the over the top apologies and the making up, but then the bad times tend to come from the lying, the cheating, the stealing, the disdain, contempt, hostility, the drama of it all. And like they're so low, but then they're kind of smoothed out by the high highs, the love bombing, the apologies, the intensity is what it is. Like just the flowery language and the not letting go, and kind of it's this over the top movie kind of stuff. Like, I will do anything to make this work, and I'll just, throw myself on the sword of love. And it's just this intensity that's there, and that's not normal. So, but it takes a while to get used to stuff that's more kind of even keel and not so high and low like that. So I guess the point being is, when do you let somebody back in? You don't have to. like, and I would recommend that if they bring drama and dysfunction and chaos into your life, that you don't, that you really get to the place where you value your peace, and to keep people out of your life that bring chaos, because it's not worth it. It really isn't worth it. So, there's lots of people out there. Like, there's lots of people that are your kind of people that are not going to bring chaos into your life. So I just would keep looking. Leslie says, but what if I'm bored with a more normal person? It takes time to learn to relate to people in a healthy way, and to realize that the good times that are so good, the bad times are so bad. That's a sign of a dysfunctional relationship. And to kind of, it's just, you've got to really reprogram yourself. It's difficult. This is another reason I encourage people to start practicing this stuff with friendships. um, because the concern, the challenge with that emotional roller coaster is, along the way, it creates trauma bonds, and it kind of creates this, like, almost like Stockholm syndrome kind of dynamic, where the bad times are so awful, and then there's all of these, like, fears of abandonment that kick up, and they're so low, but then they're followed by these really high highs, and chemically speaking, you're truly on an emotional roller coaster, like this oxytocin, dopamine roller coaster from hell. And where you're in the cycle of, this person has caused me so much pain, but only they can take the pain away. But they caused me so much pain, but only they can take it away. And um, it's like, once you see it for what it is, that's not normal. And it's hard because, like, media presents this as, this is love, that love is supposed to, love hurts, love tears your heart out, love destroys you. And no, like, it doesn't. It's the drama and dysfunction that does that. Love is, it's nourishing, it's empowering, it's supportive. How do you think about it? Like, how do you show love to a child, right? Like, you nurture, you support, you lift them up, you encourage, you do all of these acts. You might read to them before they go to bed. You make sure that they brush their teeth. Like, you're taking care of them. There's that investment. It's like loving a child, like loving a garden, like loving anything that you want to grow. Love is helps that person grow. So anything that's not that's poisonous, that's toxic and destructive, that's not love. And where we get so confused is, it's many of the same chemicals are at play there, the oxytocin especially. And so it can be confusing because it's that same chemical, and but it's being produced for different reasons. Missouri Cowboy, thank you for the nation. I appreciate it. So yeah, it takes time to get used to having peace in your life, but the more you can and start enjoying it, and the more you can get used to feeling, excuse me, I have the hiccups. The more you can start getting used to feeling good, then the more you're going to want to feel that way. So I would encourage you, start with feeling good. What feels good to you? And then do more, as long as it's encouraging and empowering, right? And doesn't hurt anybody else. Like, if it's nourishing for you, do more of that. If you really enjoy art or playing the guitar or watching football or whatever, get used to doing what kind of feeds your soul. And then you can start bringing in other people, you know, into that mix. Where we get in trouble is when we start looking outside of ourselves for other people to make us feel a certain way. Like, I need you. Like, you make me happy. You make me feel loved. You make me feel this way. When we're looking outside of ourselves to feel a certain emotion, that's when we really start getting off track. And then we start needing those people versus like wanting those people. And it's just that in itself is a big game changer, because when you want a person in your life, it's more of a healthy dynamic of, man, I choose you. Like, I choose you because you're nourishing and you're empowering, and when I'm around you, I feel supported and filled up and like good. I leave feeling good. And there's that sense of mutuality. It's mutual trust and support. It's not a one-way street, you know? And when you can get used to having dynamics like that with other people, then anything less is going to start to feel really uncomfortable. And you're going to start seeing that emotional roller coaster of like low lows and high highs, and maybe kind of crumbs of attention or affection in between. And you're going to realize, I'm not going to settle for that. Like, that's intensity and that's not intimacy. Like, I want to truly know another person and be intimate with them and not have the drama and dysfunction. I want off the roller coaster. So so with that said, I am going to call it a night early tonight, you guys. I apologize. I'm sunburned and my body hurts. So, I think the live chat can continue to go even if I'm not here. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about that. But I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to take some more ibuprofen and get some more aloe on my body. But this was a really enjoyable chat. Everything. Thank you guys for all of your questions. Thank you for all of your support of me. I appreciate it. Just like more than words can say. Like, it really does mean a lot. And I really do value, you guys matter, and you have a lot. You're valuable, and you don't let anybody ever make you feel that you're not, because they're wrong. So, please know that you matter and you have value, and there's a lot that is right about you. So, with that said, you guys take care. Have a fantastic night. Have a fantastic week. I will see you next week. Okay. And just lots of love. Oh, and if you're interested, if you want to see, I'm going to start posting some more pictures. I just need to get out of this weird funk and get out of this comfort zone that I'm in. I'll be posting pictures on Instagram. You can, if you're not already, if we're not already hooked up on Instagram, you can find me there at Thrive After Abuse. So you guys take care, and lots of love to you. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal from this. So take care, and I'll see you next week. Okay. Bye.